This is how to set up TikTok Live Studio in 2023. And we'll start with the requirements, but unfortunately TikTok hasn't explained who gets access. But you can check if you've got access to Live Studio by heading to tiktok.com/studio/download. If you can see the download button, go ahead and download it. If you can't see this page, then I have a Google Drive download link here, and I'll put that in the description. We've also found that some people can download Live Studio by setting a VPN to the UK, so I've put my Nord affiliate link in the description. But this doesn't seem to work for everyone, so make sure you use a service like Nord, which has a money back guarantee, so you can just claim your money back if the VPN to the UK method doesn't work. So once you've followed one of those three methods, we now just have to log in. The QR code option is usually the easiest. Once you are logged in, I highly recommend everybody runs the beginner setup, even if you are an advanced user. Also worth noticing, this import from another tool button doesn't seem to really work. It won't properly import any OBS settings. So let's start by clicking setup now, and firstly it's going to ask me just to pick my microphone off the list, so it's already selected it, so I'll just press next. And now we're going to pick the correct camera, and I'm going to choose my lower quality second camera here. Again, it's already selected it, so I'll just press next. And now it's testing our speed. Once it's completed the speed test, it will give us the recommended settings. The download speed for me is actually wrong, but doesn't matter too much. It's given us a 1080p stream, 60 FPS, and a good bit rate, so I'll accept that by pressing OK. And you can actually change that on this next page here if you didn't like the settings, but there is one very important setting to change here, and that is inside the advanced settings here. So if I hover over the encoder here, it says it uses the software encoder by default, but that often causes lag. So you want to make sure if you have the option available, use one of the hardware encoders. If you have H.265, that is the most efficient encoder available. So that is the single most important setting. Use a hardware encoder. Once you've got that done, just press next. And now we have to choose whether we want landscape or portrait. So if we look at this poll here, it's actually a pretty even split amongst my community over landscape or portrait mode. I'm a landscape streamer myself, so I'll just pick landscape mode and I'll press finish. So it'll start by offering you the tour. I'm going to skip it. Personally, I don't think the tour was that helpful. What it's done straight away is actually given us a whole load of scenes and a whole load of different sources already set up. But I do think there's some very important changes to make to these. So let's do that now. And I think most importantly, we'll start with the camera settings. So if you hover over camera on the left and just click on the settings cog, we want to make sure we have the highest quality camera settings possible. And for me, that is not set by default. So if we look at the camera format, I'm trying to look for 1920 by 1080. So that's this one here. So I'll change it to 1920 by 1080. It seemed to be in 720p there. You can play around with the other settings as well if you want. One interesting setting here is the foreground button, which removes the background, even the bit without the green screen. You can see in my shot here, I have a part of the camera shot which is not showing the green screen. If I click on foreground, I've disappeared for a second, but you can see now, even the part of my camera shot which didn't have the green screen has now disappeared. So play around with the camera settings. Once you're happy, press apply, and that applies all the settings. And then of course, you can just move yourself around the screen by dragging, and if you want to crop it a bit, you can just hold the Alt button. You can see I'll crop myself out there. So just make sure you have the camera where you want and that it's cropped the way you want it. So I'll just put myself somewhere on the left here. And now let's move to an important audio setting. Just quickly, if you're looking for any personal help from me to set up your live stream or any other live streaming help, then you can check out my Fiverr page, which is linked in the description. So if I click on the audio settings down here, I'm just going to add noise suppression. So against my microphone here, I'll press the settings cog, and then I just need to make sure adjust noise suppression is enabled. In actual fact, it's already enabled for me, but often by default it's not enabled. So make sure the box is ticked. I'm going to bring it all the way to the max and then just press save. What that's going to do is just going to remove any background noise like fans or like aircon, anything like that. Once you've closed out of that, let's look into the TikTok live alert settings. And once you load it, it's probably going to make a ringing noise. Just press the mute button here if it's getting annoying. So Live Studio can provide you with some basic alerts which show on the screen when somebody follows, when somebody subs, and when somebody gifts. Now we will set those up in a second, but just quickly, what you're looking at here is TikFinity, and the alerts provided by TikFinity are far more customizable, and they're way better for gifting as well. So I'll put my link to my TikFinity guide in the description. And if you find that the Live Studio alerts aren't good enough for you, then take a look at TikFinity. But let's go back onto the Live Studio alerts and let's make sure the settings are correct here. I think this first page is fine. In general, 5 seconds is fine for an alert. What I do want to change is the custom text on all the different pages here. To me, it doesn't actually make sense to say name started following you. If I'm the viewer reading it, let's say I follow somebody else, it would say Harry started following you. Like, I'm not following myself, am I? So all I'm going to recommend is just remove the word you. On all of these, you can also change the photo. It's going to show a people icon by default. It's also going to play a sound. And for followers, I recommend muting the sound to make it more special when somebody sends you money, as in a sub or a gift. You can change the colors here and definitely leave this on 1. Once you're in the subscription settings, I'm just going to delete the to you section. Again, I think it makes more sense without it. This time I'm going to leave the alert sound turned on. You can pick between 3 different alert sounds. We'll end by editing the gifts here. And once again, I'm just going to remove the word you from this one. And it is the gifts one where TikFinity is far better than Live Studio's alerts. So if you do want really good alerts for your gifts, I highly recommend you check out TikFinity, which I'll put in the description. Anyway, once you're happy with your alerts, click on apply and the settings will be changed after they're approved. Don't know what that means, but hopefully they get approved quickly. And in terms of where the alerts show on your screen, if you make sure you just click on the alert here, it shows you the box where they are. Usually you would probably want to put them in the center of the screen so they're nice and prominent, but you can just drag the box around and increase the size of it as well if you want. And this is where the alerts will go. Now, another thing Live Studio added by default is the goal here. If you did want to remove any of these, you can just right click it on the left and you just press delete. But I'm going to keep it and I'm going to place it beneath me. And also I want to change it a little bit. So I'm going to hover over the goal source on the left and click into the settings. And you can see here we can set a goal for followers, subs, or gifts. We'll leave mine on followers. Let's set it to 300k. No way I'm going to do that in one stream, but that's a nice round number. And you could customize it if you want. If you wanted to say something other than follower goal, just type that in the box there. I'm just going to leave mine on follower goal, press apply. You can see it's now updated and I've now positioned it in a more appropriate place than in the top left corner. You probably noticed there, so it's a good time for me to show you. I accidentally dragged one of the wrong sources. So let me click on it and move it back in place. And to stop doing that, you just press the lock icon. So now I can't accidentally move that particular source. So you can see there's one more thing which TikTok's added, and that is the chat box. A lot of people don't like a chat box. If you do want to remove it, again, just right click it, press delete. If you're going to keep it, hover over, click on settings and change any settings. You might want the white background instead. You might want to increase the number of available messages. You can play around with the settings here, and once you're happy with it, you just press apply. And I would recommend moving it around. So the best places for it usually is in the bottom right or bottom left corner or underneath your webcam. You might have seen popular YouTubers such as Ludwig, and he always has his chat directly underneath him. So I'm just going to crop mine a bit because that is too high, and I'll put the chat directly underneath me. There we go, make it a bit bigger. And once you're done, feel free to look through any of the other sources that Live Studio has available here. It has actually done a good job of adding the most commonly used ones. You can also add image, any text, any videos to your stream as well. And again, if you did ever want to switch back and forth, you just click on portrait or landscape scenes. One other thing worth pointing out, TikTok has actually added another scene here. So if I click on chat here, they've set up a chat scene for us. The default kind of looks okay. You've got the chat up here, you've got the alerts down here. You might want to add some more goals, so you could add a few more goals. So if I wanted 10 subscriber goal, for example, I could put that there next to the follower goal. They've also given us a blank scene here where you can add whatever you want. And you can also create up to 30 scenes by pressing the add scene button. Anyway, once you're happy with all your different scenes and your different sources, it's time to go live. So you just press the start button in the bottom right corner, and it's going to ask you for all your usual stream information. Once you fill that in, you just press go live, and you're now live on TikTok. If you have 2 screens, then just put Live Studio on your second screen, and you can just read the chat on the right hand side here. If you only have 1 screen, then there's 2 things you can do. Typically, I would just recommend that you read the chat from your phone, but you have another option here, which is to pop out the chat, and then you can just lock the panel in place so you can't move it. And this will keep the chat always on top. You can see I've switched to my TikFinity here, and the Live Studio chat is still there. So I do strongly recommend using TikFinity, and I'll put my TikFinity tutorial here. Check out the links in the description if you need any personal help from me. Subscribe if you found this useful, and thanks for watching.